Hey YouTube, what's going on? Chris here. Want to bring you guys an update on Litecoin. Right now we're at $48.65. We're up 0.39%. We're going to be digging into Litecoin a little bit. I want to show you some different things that I've been looking at. And also, if you guys could like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, trying for 100 likes on this video. I think the last Litecoin video got over 200, so you guys just been killing it for me, and I'm really thankful for that, helping this channel grow, and new people have been coming in that we're able to help. And it's great to have this community of you guys saying, take a look at this in terms of, the chart, or take a look at this indicator, this or that. It's really nice to be able to see other people spotting stuff out and really learning. And I've been learning from you guys, and I hope you're learning from me. So I'm just really thankful to be here with you, and we'll dig into this. So what we're looking at is Litecoin on the 4-hour chart. And like I said, we're at $48. So we did go up all the way. We made it to a high of about $52. I was telling you guys, just be patient. Wait for that pullback. It's going to come. And I still feel like there could be some further downside. Now, anything can happen. We could have that push up. A whale could come in right now, even though the indicators aren't looking like it. Could push up, and we could come up and test this area around $56. That's going to be the next major resistance. Obviously, we'd have to get over this top that we made here around 52, but after that, it would be up to that $56. But what I wanted to show you is with trend lines, what I like to use is a fanning technique, and I've been reading a lot about this. So this lower trend line, this is the very strong trend line. The reason why it's so strong is you have this huge gap here, which makes it a stronger trend line. Then we actually rode the price along this trend line, and then it broke up into a steeper trend line. And that's what I want to show you all today, is how you can break off into separate trend lines. So the main trend line that I want to see hold for us to continue this bull move in the short term that we've had, or short to intermediate term, is this lower trend line be kept. We don't want any closes below that, any breaks below that. That's the big deal. So next, what I'm looking at is this other trend line that I have drawn, and that's from the explosion that we had up. Remember, whenever we have these gaps in between, so this moving average in blue is your 50 moving average. Do you see how far away this price gapped from that and how we got pulled back onto it? Typically, we always get pulled back onto it. See the gap here? We got pulled back on it and below it. Right here, we blasted off away from it, got pulled back to it. So right now, I could see us still pulling back into this $45 range. And what that would entail is us breaking this trend line. And remember, when trend lines are steeper, they're not as strong as if there's not as much pitch to them. And that's something you want to study as well. So if a trend line's real steep like this one, it's not going to have the power that this one would. That's been more of a long-term, less of a slant trend line. So what I'm looking for now is to see if we can hold this trend line, and if we're going to keep traveling up above it. Remember, this is on the 4-hour chart, and we're going to zoom in here so you can see this. So on the 4-hour chart, this is where we have our drawing here of this trend line, so we could definitely come back down and test this. Right now, we're going to see if we're going to break down below this 20 moving average, this 20 EMA on the 4-hour chart, and it looks like we may lose it. We've been fighting, kind of grinding on it here, but now we're having some ugly looking candles. If you can see this. So back here we tried to push up, back up to that $50. We got rejected. Here we tried again, and now you're seeing that doji, so that indecision, and that's sitting right on top of this 20 EMA. Remember how powerful I told you this 20 EMA is, especially on the 1-day chart. All right, it's even more powerful than on this 4-day chart, but as the 4-day chart, we're looking to hold this. Now, if we lose this, we're going to be looking for this trend line to hold. If we close below that, we'll be looking to see if we can get a bounce off this 50 moving average, which is around that $45. But what you're seeing, or at least what I'm seeing, is, do you see this price here, guys? So we made it up to $48, and our RSI was at around 76. Then we pushed up here to about that $52, and our RSI was around that 77, 78. So it didn't go up much. So we basically have a double top here on our RSI while the price was going up. So now the price is over here. Do you see this, guys? The price is around that $48 where we had it here. Look where the RSI was here at 78, and now our RSI is down around 55. So we're losing strength. So look for the 20 EMA. If that doesn't hold, look for the trend line. If this trend line doesn't hold, look for the 50, and that's how we do it. We just work our way down. Then we look at support down around here, $42. But volume here hasn't been anything very special. You can see we're kind of tailing off that moving average down here. That's a volume moving average if you didn't know, and it's starting to go down a little bit. And another thing we haven't broken out of is this trend line that I've drawn on my own charts right here. So we're not out of that yet. So you see your RSI is going down while price is going up. That means most likely there's still some more pullback to come. Could we push up here and try to get over this 51, 52? Guys, with the market makers and the whales in this space, anything can happen. That's why I said I'm never going to consider myself. I'm not going to say I'm your cryptocurrency expert or I'm you know, a charting expert, anything like that. I've done this for a year. I've studied hard. I've worked hard, but I'm using books that correlate to the stock market because there's not much out on cryptocurrency yet, and this market is a different beast than what a traditional market would be. In this market, our RSI on the 1 day can get up to 95. We've seen it before, when in traditional stock markets, anything over 70, people aren't really buying into it much more. All right, and just like in terms of it can get so low that we've seen Bitcoin's RSI on the 1 day get down to 8 or 9, something along those lines, where under 30 is oversold. So keep all this stuff in mind. And what we're going to do next, we're going to go out to the 1 day chart. But remember, I was telling you I was seeing this like rickshaw man doji here, and we were getting pushed up. Then we kind of had this shooting star candle. And I said, guys, we're going to be getting pushed back down. It's going to be what happens. We need these nice, healthy retracements. You can't just go up in a straight line. You don't want to be built on stilts. If you build your house on stilts, it's going to fall down. And that's like how Litecoin on the 1 day, I'll show you this. Let's go out to the 1 day. Take a look at this now. And you tell me this wasn't on stilts. Okay, and then tell me what happened afterwards. Okay, so do you see how we went straight up? We never really should have made it past about $106 in Litecoin here. All this was just institutional investors or people with big money whales that just blew this up for a couple weeks and then ripped their money right out. See how that went straight up in a straight line? We should have known, now that knowing what I know in terms of reading charts and everything else, and just even looking at it on a smaller term, that a big crash was coming. Look back here. Do you see how we gapped away from these moving averages and then we crashed back in? Look here. Look at these big gaps in this price where we spiked right up. We gapped away from all these moving averages and we just got pulled back down, and we've been making these lower highs consistently. We have not made a higher high yet, and that's what I'm looking for to say that Litecoin is officially out of the potential bear market, which we know we're correlated to Bitcoin and we have to pay attention to that. But if Litecoin can get and stay, so we're up above this 200-day moving average on the 1 day. If we zoom in on this, let me show you here. But we need to stay up above that. So far, it's looking like a doji is kind of getting put in here, so we're still having that indecision. So let's take a look. So we're zoomed in. These are 1 hour candles. Still lower trend line, right? We're holding. We had the nice cross of our 20 EMA up over our 50 moving average. So all those were still acting as support. And now what we're looking for is this 20 to cross over this 200-day moving average, which would be another golden cross that took place. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had a pullback onto this 200-day, again, around this $45, before we started to move up higher if we're able to hold these. We need to be able to hold these. We still have quite the gap here, remember, where we can get pulled back down into that $42, $45. Have this gap. Even right here, look at this big gap that we had off the trend line, and then we got pulled back. So what if we were to get pulled back into this area around that $40? So my targets are anywhere from like $40 up to that $45 we could get a bounce from. But you know, when I was looking at the candles and I was looking at the RSI and everything, it just it's not looking like it's going much higher right now. If you look at the RSI on the 1 day, let's see if it'll come up for me. Same deal. See right here, guys, lower price, higher RSI. Higher price, lower RSI, we're losing strength. And then draw a trend line on this right on top and see if we can break that. Now if we break out of that and start moving up, that's a different story. But that's something I'm looking at, and I'm also looking at these lower highs on this RSI that we've been having. See how accurate that's been? Each time we're coming down on here, this longer trend line with these big gaps and a low slope, we're getting a bounce off it. So who's to say we couldn't come down, bounce off this, and then continue moving? So it's not me losing hope in Litecoin, guys. It's me being realistic and saying I want the best price. If I'm going to enter Litecoin for a trade, I want to have the best price. I'm not going to chase anything. I'm not chasing coins anymore because I can just go on to the next one and trade it, and that's the beauty about trading. is that if you know how to do this, you can, a huge spike like this happens, you miss the spike, you can jump in on a short and make money on the downside. Or vice versa, you can make money on the upside. It just doesn't matter. You just want that volatility. You can see from this low that we had here up to our high, we really haven't even fully retraced all the way down to this 0.236. And a lot of times we've been having retracements down to our 50, which would make sense around that $40, and even down to our 0.618, which would be around $38.41, and that would kind of put us around this trend line. So that's just why I don't FOMO into things. I'm going to be more patient. But, that's what I wanted to show you. And next thing, take a look at the Bollinger Bands. We're probably still close to the top of the Bollinger Bands. So when we're up close to the top of the Bollinger Bands here, I just don't know why with the RSI looking like it was, you would want to go long and take a chance that maybe some whale is going to come in and we get pushed up to around this $56. Will we break this, guys? Absolutely. Down the road, this is such a great price. Under $50 for Litecoin, that's going to be amazing. But I'm just anticipating a pullback down into this area, that $45. We're going to have to see what happens with this whole area here. Next, let's take a quick look at the MACD. See how that's faring. And MACD, so we've been up above on the histogram. You saw we ticked down, then we kind of came back up. And this is your signal line in red. So it looked like we were going to cross down and get a downward cross, but we popped back up a little bit. And now it's kind of that decision time where we're moving sideways with both of them, and we're going to see what happens. But keep this stuff in mind, guys. I want to bring it to you, share it with you. I'm not one to FOMO. You can do whatever you want. I'm not your financial advisor, but we're at $48.83. I'm looking for a little bit more of a pullback. We'll have to see what happens throughout the day, but that's just my thoughts on it. God bless each and every one of you. Take care, my friends.